Kakadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Chullin, Daf Yomi, Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, 13a1. Says the Gemara. Amar Lei. We're talking about Rabbi, but Abba comes and he tells to Rabbi Ami. Machashava gredata lo kami baile. Nobody's talking about only machshava by itself. And therefore, nobody had such a doubt in such a case. Ki kami baile, one was a doubt. When you could tell the machshava through the actions. Kigon, for example, Tavakaima Ola Badarom. Imagine right now the Ola is in the south. Vatyu Batzafon, they brought it to the north. Ushchata, and they did the shchita. Right? Now, we know that means obviously his actions is that he's doing it for an Ola. Right? Now, it's not mamash a ma'aseh mamash, because he didn't actually say it. Right? You just brought it to the north. So what's halacha? Since we say that the machshava is going to be nikar from the maaseh, that's going to be enough, or not? So you had the kavanah that it should be like that. Or maybe he just didn't have enough space to do it in the south, so he did it in the north. Yeah? Remember, which korbanot do you do in the north? What, doctor? The olah. How do you know the olah is done in the north? Which one? No. It's written mefurash only by the olah. Tzafona lifnei Hashem. They learn the chatat from the olah, and then they learn the asham, also kachatat kasham, right? The same thing. But everything's learned from the olah. The olah is the mekoradin. So, right? So remember that always. Right? We learned that already. Yeah? So therefore, the olah is the mekoradin. So the mekoradin, that means the source. How do you know you have to do shechita batzafon? It has to be in the north of the temple. Is going to be from the olah. So says the Gemara, Hanami Amara Rabbi Yochanan Chadazina. Do you know Rabbi Yochanan already said this once? Why? Means when you have a machshava, which is the mindset, the mind, right? Your thoughts, which are nikar, which are going to be recognizable through your actions. He said, we learned it once, Titran. We learned it in Mishnah. Okay, we're talking about now Hechsher on perot lekabel tuma. We know that a fruit does not become susceptible to tuma unless you're going to have a hechsher. What's a hechsher? Right? That is going to receive one of the 7 liquids and you want it there. Okay? So for example, if it just some rains, it's nothing. But if you want it, so now the rain will make the fruit susceptible for tuma, and now it can be mekabel tuma. So we learned. Imagine right now you take all your fruits and you put it on the roof. Now, why are you putting it on the roof? You don't want it to get full of worms. So in the nighttime, we have dew. Anyone knows what dew is? Huh? La rosée. Oh, wow, la rosée. Sounds like wine. Yeah. So it's R-A-S-I-E-E. La rosée is without the second E. And it's just with a, how do you call the hyphen? Okay, this is a... Okay. So it says somebody's going to have the tal that comes down on it. Enan bechiyutan. Because the pasuk says vechiyutan ma'im al zera. Right. So he says, right? He says, eno bechiyutan. Ve'im nitkaven lekach. It's the same zoom as Daf Yomi. Yeah. So what happened is it says if somebody comes and he puts his fruits on top of the roof in order to save it from the worms, and all of a sudden you have the dew, it's not going to be over on the v'chiyutan. Now, what does that mean? That it doesn't become susceptible to receive tuma. V'im nitkaven lekach. Now, if it's going to be that he had a kavanah that he wants it to be there, the tal, harehem v'chiyutan. Helum chereshuta v'katan. But what happens if it's going to be a chereshuta v'katan that he brought it up to the roof? Afal pi shenit kavenu lekach, even though they have kavanah for that, enam v'chiyutan neshish lemaaseh. Because they have an action. Then like machshava, but there's no machshava. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Lo shanu, what are we talking about? Shelo yipech bahen. That after the tal didn't come off, he didn't take it off, kilo. Aval yipech bahen, but if he's going to come right? Then he was mepech bein. So therefore, what happens? He comes and he says, then it's b'chiyutan. Why? Because he showed with an action that he wanted there. So it comes out that if you have a machshava from an action, right? But meaning since he only brought it up to the roof before the tal was there, so for there was no action. The tal comes down. There's only machshava. He wants it there. But there's no machshava. The machshava was said, no, it doesn't help. So, but if you're going to come pech by him, now there's an action. Once there's an action, it is going to be okay. So answers the Gemara, Hachi coming by. The question though is it Doraita or Dorabanan? Not does it help or not. For sure it's going to help. The question is, does it help Midoraita or is it only Midorabanan? That's the question. The machshava, which is going to help mitoch maaseh, because again, they're not saying anything. It's a machshava that you're learning from a maaseh. Does that help or not? Is it doraita or is it rabbanan? Does it help? Okay. So therefore, basically, because if you're going to say it's doraita, so you could even do it lekula for leniency. But if you're going to be it's the rabbanan, maybe not. Okay. So he comes and he says now like this: Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak matniachi. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak came and he taught it right the following way. Amar Rav Chiya bar Abba. Says Rabbi Yochanan has the question: Katan yesh lo maaseh and lo maaseh. Does a katan have actions or not? Amalei Rabbi Yami says Rabbi Yami retibai le machshava. Right? You should ask the question of machshava. What are you asking the question of maaseh? Ask the question of machshava. Why are you not mentioning it? Yitran en le machshava. Maaseh namin lo tibai le yitran. Yesh lo maaseh. Meaning like this. If you're going to tell me that the question is machshava, no, it wasn't machshava. Why? It says they don't have machshava. So then don't ask on maaseh, because it says mefurash that there is maaseh. So says the Gemara, no. Haki coming by. This was a question. Teoraita Rabbanan. So he basically asked the same question in this form. Upashit, but he did answer. Yesh lehem maaseh v'afilu midoraita. Maaseh is even doraita, but en lehem machshava afilu midorabanan. It's two extremes. You understood? It's mamash two extremes, two complete extremes. So he says, "Machshavto nikeret mitoch maasav midoraita en lo midrabanan yesho." So one more time, we're going to take the spectrum, right? You guys know what the spectrum is, right? You got it right in front of you. You got maaseh. When he's going to come and do a maaseh, it helps even midoraita. Okay, so one more time, maaseh helps even midoraita by a katan. Then we have the left side. What's the left side? Machshava. Machshava is klum, rien, even midrabanan. Shum davar. Nothing. Okay, fine. What about now, machshava, which is mitoch maaseh, which means that you could see the machshava, it's nikeret from the maaseh. There, midoraita, nikeret, it's recognizable. Nikar, right? So there, midoraita, he does not have it. Midorabanan, yes. So therefore, it's only lechumra, it's not lekula. Right? That's what we're saying. Okay? Until you were clear? Yeah? So Shmuel comes and he asks from Ravuna, Minayin lemitasek bekolchim shu pasul. How do we know that somebody's going to be mitasek in kolchim that is going to be pasul? Mitasek means that, for example, you're doing something with a knife and also, oops, and you did shechita without even realizing. Yeah? So what happens? How do we know it's pasul? When you do the shechita has to be for it. So it can't just be mitasek. It can't be that you're just coming, you're sword playing, and all of a sudden you come and whoops, and you took off the head of the animal. Doesn't work. Amarlo zubi adenui. He says what? Right? I knew this already. La'akev minayin. Meaning I know that for sure lechatchila you have to have the mind for sure, but is it me'akev or not? So says the Elmaleh. He says right. Lirtzonchem tizbachu ledatchem zevochu. When it says lirtzonchem tizbachu, that they learn that it has to be ledatchem. The datchem means that it has to be that it is going to be even me'akev, which means that mamash it has to be that you know what you're doing, not just stam. Meaning a person's playing with darts or whatever it is, and all of a sudden he's doing with knife. So he's doing knife throwing, and he throws it. Doesn't help. It has to be mamash ledat. It can't be mitasek. Okay? Fine. Mishnah. Mishnah on the bottom of Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Shechitat ovdei kochavim nevela. When a non-Jew comes and he's going to do shechita on an animal, a wild animal, even if the Jew's watching him, it's a nevela. Yeah, because basically, since he cannot do shechita, his shechita is not kosher. Okay? So he says, u'metame'ah b'masa, and therefore, since it's a nevela, it's going to be metameh the human being b'masa. Masa is touching it, okay? With not touching, with carrying it. Sorry. So says the Gemara, nevela in yisuranalo. He says it's only going to be asur because of a nevela, but not because of yisurana. I mean, you're allowed to benefit from it. So Mantana, who's the Tana that holds that? So Amar Rabbi Berebi Abba, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. To look Rabbi Eliezer, it's not like Rabbi Eliezer. To eat Rabbi Eliezer, it's going to be Rabbi Eliezer. Hamar, he said, Stama Shavdot Gvim Lavdot Chavim. The goy, when he does it, he's doing it for avodah zarah. So the fact that the goy is doing it for avodah zarah, so therefore it's keilu that it's mamash, it's a surbana. Remember, you're not allowed to benefit from avodah zarah. So it's mamash like avodah zarah. Rabbi Yami Amar, Rabbi Yami comes and he says, Hachiktani, this is what it means to say. Shchitat ovdei kochavim, ha demin. What does that mean? We're talking about right now the shchitat ovdei kochavim is a nevela. Ha demin bar amin, right? So which means that somebody that's like a heretic, which is aduk to it, right? So he comes and he says, ovdei kochavim. That means it doesn't matter even if it's a Jew. Imagine right now you have a Jew, but the Jew's a priest, right? So the priest of the Zarah. So he comes and he says it's going to be the Avodah Zarah. So you see from here that Shitat Avodah Kochavim is a nevela, and of a mean, then it's going to be of Avodah Kochavim, whether it's a Jew or non-Jew. But that means he's attached to the Avodah Zarah. So says the Gemara, Tanina lehai tanu Rabbanan. We actually learned this from the Mishnah, where it says Shitat min לעבודת כוכבים, פיתו פתקותי, ינו יין נסך, ספריו ספרי קוסמים, פירותיו טבלים. ויש אומרים, and some people say, אף בניו ממזרים. Wow. Powerful stuff. You guys have a case over here. We have a meme. Now remember, the meme could be a non-Jew or a Jew. But even if you have a Jew, that he's doing avodah zarah, that means he's clinging to avodah zarah, right? What happens? Whenever he's doing it, stam for avodah zarah. So therefore, asur bana. Number two is bread, is pat goy, right? You're not allowed to eat it. His wine, like yain esech, not allowed to drink it. Sefarav is sifrei Torah nevim uktuvim, meaning mamash sfarim, or sifrei kosmim. They're like books of nevi abal, avodah zarah, nothing. Perotav is fruits, are considered tevel, right? Why? He probably didn't take off trumot of asrot. Some people even say, right? You give him a little bit 13b that his children are mamzerim, because basically he's not makpid on his wife that she shouldn't go around. Yeah, so therefore we're going to suspect that his children is not even a Jew, or that she had relations with other people, and therefore the children are going to be mamzerim. Yeah, powerful stuff. Yeah. So the Tanakama, so he says, Tanakama, why didn't he bring this down? He says, Ishto lo mafkar. He says, right, you know, there's three things you never share. Yeah, what do they say? Your house, car, and your wife, I think it was, no? So he says, no, the wife, no. No, that he wouldn't be mafkir his wife. You understand? That he wouldn't go ad kedei kach. You understand? So Amar Mor says, Shechitat ovdei kochavim nevela. The shechita of ovdei kochavim is considered nevela. So ask the Gemara, v'neichu shem aminu. So why don't I suspect it's amin? And if it's amin, it's for avodah zarah. If it's for avodah zarah, it's a surbana. So Amar Rav Nachman Rav Hua, en minin beumot ovdei kochavim. There's no min in the umot ovdei kochavim. Meaning stam shechitatam is ena l'shem avodah zarah. It's stam. So ask the Gemara, what are you talking about? You're going to tell me that there's no real, people that are mamash like that they are oved avodah zarah? Kilo that a mean is only by a Jew. You understand? But by avodah zarah, no, stam, there's no real mean. How does that make sense? So he says, Emma en rov they call him meaning. The majority of them are not meaning. Right? Savala ki adama, but he holds like that which Chia Barabba said name Rabbi Yochanan, nochrim shebechutz haaretz, lav of the kochavim nihen. Ela minhag avotem midden. Says, the goyim in the chutz haaretz, they're not real meaning. They just do what their parents did. Hey, it's not the mamash there. And now you see, by the way, the amount of atheists, it's crazy. Atheists. The amount of atheists, right, is crazy. Yeah, why? It didn't exist. Once upon a time, everybody had a religion. Nowadays, people, they don't have a religion. They don't, everything's going down. All the religions also. Fine. Amar Rav Yosef ben Yomi ben Rav Nachman. Says Yosef ben Yomi ben Rav Nachman. En minin b'umot of the Kochovim. There's no such thing as heretics in the umot of the Kochovim. Lemai, what's an afkamina? If you're going to tell me the shchita, hashta shchita min Yisrael amarta sira. If you told me that the shchita of a min of Israel is going to be asur, ovet Kochovim yichlal is a question. Ela lemoridin. You put them in a pit and you don't pick them back up. Hashta di Yisrael moridin do Kochovim vai. Even if it's a Jew, you would put him down in the pit and you wouldn't pick him up. So now you've got a question about a goy. So we're talking about the receiving a korban. The Tanya was we learned in a Braita, mikem velo kulchem. What does that mean, mikem? Right, only from part of the Israel, not from everybody. You only accept korbanot from part of Israel, and not from all of Israel. Right, leotziet mumar. This comes to exclude a mumar. That means a mumar, which is a mumar for avodah zarah, or mechalel shabbat farhesia, is like a mumar lechol Torah kula, and therefore you cannot bring a korban. Mikem bachem chilaktiv lo derech kochavim. Mikem, when it says mikem, it's only bachem in Israel, but not under the kochavim. Mimai, how do you know that? It says dimachi kamar. Misael, mitzadike kabel, mishael lo tekabel. From the tzadik, meaning from Israel, you can only accept from the tzadikim. Don't accept from the reshaim. But by ovdei kochavim, klalu klalon, never accept it from anybody, even if he's the guy is a big tzadik. So it says the lo sal gadaita. The time was learned to write ish. Matamor ish. That about ovdei kochavim shenodin in the vote to Israel. That the goy could come and he could bring a neder or nedava. Meaning the goy could come and bring a korban. There's no problem. So obviously that's not the case. So right, then we said it's going to be mitameh b'masa. Pshita, obviously it's going to be mitameh b'masa, but you just told me it's a nevela. So given the nevela is mitameh b'masa, for sure it's going to be mitameh b'masa. It says in the pasuk, v'noseh nivlata, chabetz v'tameh d'aref. So Amarava Achidani, this is what we say. Zo mitameh b'masa, v'yesh acheret she mitameh afilu be'ohel. Ve'zu, so tikrov avodat kochavim, Rabbi Yehuda b'metira. Meaning, this one is going to be mitameh only b'masa. But there's another one which is going to be mitameh be'ohel. What is that? When it was done for avodah zarah. If it's done for avodah zarah, even in the tent. V'ikadamni, and the results that say, Amarava says, Hachiktani, this is what it say. Zo mitameh b'masa v'shcha acheret, she'i kazo. Shemitameh mitameh be'ohel. Ve'zo zo tikrov avodat kochavim. Ve'lo Rabbi Yehuda b'metira. The time we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Yehuda b'metira omer, מניין לתקרב דמי כבודים שמתאבא באוהל, שנאמר, ויצמדו לבל פאור, ויאכלו זבחי מתים. מה מת מטמא באוהל? Just like מת is going to be מטמא באוהל, so too עבודת תקרובת, עבודת כוכבים, מטמאה באוהל. It's going to be מטמא in the oil. Which one? Mishnah on the bottom of Yud Gimel Amud Bet. השוכב בלילה וכן הסומה ששחט, שחיטתו כשרה. If somebody is going to do shechita in the nighttime, or you have a blind person doing shechita, it's going to be kosher, right? That means even though they don't know how they're doing it, they can't see what they're doing. So says the Gemara, hashochet b'diavadin lechatchila no. Meaning if you're going to do it in the nighttime, it's only b'diavad. It's not lechatchila. Or meaning we have a contradiction. Leolam shochatinu b'miyom v'layla b'mishor zvira. You can always do shechita. What do I care if it's daytime, nighttime, whether it's going to be on the roof, whether it's going to be on a boat? What do you care? Shechita is shechita. So Rav Papa says v'shekavukal kenegdo. He says only when you've got the fire in front of you. When you have the fire in front of you, that's when it's going to be okay lechatchila. But if not, it's b'diavad. So Ravashi says daikanami diktani. Right? We also have also a proof to this dumya diyom, that it's like dumya diyom. The hacha dumya de suman. Here it's going to be dumya de suman. Shema mina. That's what we're actually going to learn. Okay.